in school we had like little fights and stuff, but like nothing as bad as what's going on in London now. Like earlier this year, I lost one of my friends from school to a stabbing. It was over literally nothing, and yeah, I don't think anyone deserves to lose their life over pettiness.
When I was younger, so when I was like around 15, I had an incident where my ex-boyfriend and his best friend had got into an altercation with a friend that I knew, and they ended up stabbing him and he died. So seeing that live, like up front in personal, kind of scarred me for life.
It's sad because like when you're at this age, you don't really think of your friends being killed like this. Like you think, like I'm 14, like I'm a child. When I'm older, I'm gonna have a job, I'm gonna have money, kids, and whatever. And it's sad to see someone go like this young. But obviously, when they get involved with things that it's a bit tricky and they run into roadblocks, then there's nothing you can really do to help them.
I think young people giving up all the time, not prepared to put in the hard work, and to make something of yourself, you do have to work, you have to stick at it, and I don't see that resilience or that hard work always coming through, and that's quite sad because I think that there are lots of opportunities and young people don't always see things through to the end.
Do you know what it is? It's devastating in a sense where we come from an environment where when people say, I refer to the fact that when people say, I'm trying to make it out their ends, when people say that, it's like, oh, but anyone can come out their ends. But no, coming from an environment filled with negative mindsets, a lot of crime going on, how do you then build the mindset to say you want to get out of it, sort of thing?
I think the police are doing a good job. I think they're doing a difficult job. And I think they're probably underpaid, understaffed, under tremendous pressure.
No, I hate the police. How comes? I hate the police because it's the way they act. Because they're the police that have more authority than me or us. Because like the police is like the way they act now, and they act like really they really like harass you. Maybe if like the police was like, maybe I don't mind being stopped by the police. It's just like the way that you talk to me. Like, if you talk to me politely, I'll give you the same respect. But if you're telling me stop, if you're telling me stop, shut up, this and that, yeah, it's gonna agitate me more. So I'll give the same energy they're giving me back to them.
Some police stop and search people just because they want to, not because there's actually like, I don't know, a report out looking for this type of kid or this type of young person. I feel like the way that police are trained needs to be put up to scratch, and prosecutions needs to happen to police who want to take things into their own hands and, you know, stop and search random kids on the street or try to arrest certain kids for like the smallest of crimes.
I think the police work really hard. I think they do a really good job and they certainly make me feel safe. I think the statistics do show that some groups of people are maybe stopped and searched more than others. And I think that that's a difficult statistic. I think that there's some things that maybe community relations with the police maybe needs to be a bit better. And I mean, you know, I have a lot of respect for the police and I think that they are there to help us, keep us safe. I don't always think that young people agree with me on that and they think of the police maybe as an enemy, and maybe some education needs to take place to change that perception.
There's things that you can do across the policy piece, I think, like rent controls, so that private landlords can't own 10 houses and charge whatever they want and put it up every year because there's people scrabbling around, living in mouldy, damp, awful conditions, and the landlord every year can just put up the price. So even in something like housing that might sort of seem unconnected to finance, there's things you can do. You can put in place things like the 1-to-10 ratio so that nobody in the company, say the cleaner, the reception lady, they can't be paid less than 10 times what the chief executive owns. You can bring back some of the services into public ownership, things like water, railways, you could renationalise those. Universal childcare, that's obviously a very hot topic for me at the moment with my little ones, just realising suddenly you're restricted as a family, how much childcare costs, how much I can work or my husband can work, and the impact around all of that. But there's a load of policy things across the piece that would make a really big difference to bring people into kind of financial inclusion. I think also like our attitude towards the kind of benefits system. It used to be just, I think, seen as something you could access, you know, if times were hard, and that was okay. And now it's become this very shameful thing, and the narrative around it's very shameful that these people are shirkers, and they're, you know, and when lots of people legitimately can't work for many reasons for short or long periods of time. I think that kind of demonisation of people that claim benefits is really unhelpful. But I guess it starts when kids are little. It starts in the school system.
If you are upper class and you're incredibly privileged and you've got pots of money, then I think you have to recognise that. And you have a responsibility to be philanthropic, to look after people around you. If you have more than you and your family could possibly need, then I feel like why on earth wouldn't you want to help people? Why wouldn't you want to make society better? That's my own personal feeling. But there is no obligation on people, you know, there is... So obviously the more you earn, you're taxed more, and the theory is that government is going to spend that tax money on society, however it decides. But yes, I think there should be a duty on people who are privileged, fantastically wealthy, upper class, to help everyone.
I support not just minimum wage, but kind of living wage scheme. So in London, a London living wage is slightly different to the rest of the country because of the cost of living here. I think it's about paying people properly for a day's work. It's also about terms and conditions, and it's also about career trajectories, because there's jobs. We can all have a job. Well, not everybody, but you know, there's jobs, but then there's kind of career, there's progression, there's hope, there's what we want to offer young people. And those are two different things. And actually being properly paid for a day's work is part of that picture.
I think there's probably quite a lot of opportunities out there already, and I wouldn't necessarily think that you need to spend more money, but maybe there might need to be more education and more encouragement for young people to attend. There are youth clubs, there are activities, opportunities, but not everyone goes. And sometimes you hear young people say, "Oh, I can't be bothered." You know, can't be bothered is not going to make your life exciting. So maybe use the opportunities that are out there already.
It's more about the accessibility of those opportunities. So some people are born into places, or to parents, or to lives, or to homes, or to areas where they can access literally anything, and other people are born into circumstances where accessing any kind of opportunity is incredibly hard, and you have to fight for every little bit, and that just can't be right in this day and age. So there are opportunities out there. Can everyone get them easily without a fight and grab them with two hands and go on? I don't think so. There's still a lot more to do on kind of dismantling some of the structural stuff that holds people back.
I don't think there is someone to blame. I think everybody has a part to play. I feel like I said, 50% the government for not stepping up when we need them to step up. So giving us resources to get people off of the roads. And when it gets to a point where boys are getting or girls are getting prosecuted for the crimes that they've done, certain sentences are not ideal. I don't feel like they've been pulled through properly or thought through properly. And then just young people within themselves, like, we are to blame for how bad things have got, because it's like one person will do something to someone and then the next person's friend will retaliate, and it's a vicious circle that goes round and round and round. So everybody is to blame. There's no certain part or certain group of people that is to take full blame.
If we're looking at who's most to blame for the increase in youth violence, obviously there are so many different aspects to why it increases, but yeah, I'd probably have to say a lot of it comes back to the government, really. If you look at what's happened over the last couple of years, 20, 30 years, a lot of funding has been cut to sort of like young people's services and young people's activities. So school funding has been cut. That means less resources for kids. Funding to social work has been cut. Funding to sort of like clubs have been cut. other activities outside of school. Funding to families have been cut. So if you sort of like add all of these things up, it's obviously going to have quite a negative impact on sort of like the development of young people in our country.
I think ultimately young people are responsible for youth violence. I think there are a number of different issues. So it could be that they're bored. It could be that parents don't have control over their children, and so they go out and they seek trouble. But ultimately, I would say that the young people are responsible themselves, because if you choose to leave your house with a knife, you are choosing something that can end up in a violent situation.
It's a very complicated picture, but I think one of the key factors is the government that we've had since 2010 and the range of austerity measures that has been cuts to mental health support, cuts to youth centres, just a general atmosphere and climate of the gap between rich and poor are getting bigger. People can see what other people have got, they haven't got it, and just kind of the cuts to the policing and an inability to know how to relate to young people, not treating young people with respect or looking for whole community solutions. We've become quite punitive, quite divided as a society, and I think these are all the things that are driving that rise in youth crime.